Welcome back. We are continuing our conversation with Dr. Anthony Fauci. He's the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases.
He's also the face of the fight against the coronavirus. And he's sharing what the country could have done to better respond to the pandemic and the personal toll it's taking on him.
Dr. Fauci, have you seen or heard of Joe Biden's plan for battling the pandemic? What does it look like and how is it different from what we're currently doing?
Well, I'm going to leave that to the president-elect to make those kinds of announcements. I don't want to get ahead of him. We have discussed it with the Biden team, but I'm going to leave that to the president-elect, who almost certainly will shortly be letting you know about that.
Will fully reopening the country start state by state? That's a lot of big questions that people have, or is this more of a federal decision when it comes to those matters?
No, as you well know, the way things have gone over the past several months is that a lot of the individual decisions and discretion have been left to the states. I think, apropos of your prior question, you'll probably see a considerable amount of interaction, exchange of information and support between the federal government and the states. But the states, since each state has, some commonalities, but also differences depending where you are in the country, the climate, the number of people in the state, the density of the population, all of those things will come into the decision about what any individual state might do.
And Dr. Fauci, the WHO is heading to China, right, to try and find the origin of the virus. What do you hope they find and what are they looking for?
Well, I mean, obviously, when you have the emergence of a brand new infection such as this, which has caused such global devastation, you want to find out what the origin, how did that happen? The obvious thing, if it is anything like SARS, the severe acute respiratory syndrome, which we saw come about in 2002, it was felt to be jumping of species from an animal reservoir, from a bat to a civet cat, which is an animal that is served at ceremonial feasts in China, that's how we got that infection that originated in the Guangdong province of China. Also, MERS, the Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, another coronavirus, was felt to go from a bat to a camel to human. So we really need to know what the origin of this was. I mean, what was it, an animal species that it jumped from? And if so, when and how?
Yeah, and you kind of just touched on this in the previous question, and this is kind of a two-part question here for you. What do you wish we as a country would have done differently to battle this pandemic? And do you believe political struggle between parties hurt our response to the virus? You know, we saw Twitter spats between Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker and President Trump, causing some to believe that some lawmakers were making COVID a political issue, causing more lives to be lost.
Well, I'm not going to comment about any specific person or entity politically, but I can tell you something generally that could help to answer your question. I think anybody who's been watching what goes on realizes that we in our country, unfortunately, are living in a very divisive period, extremely divisive, to the point that it has led to the kind of violence that we saw last week. That is very troubling. When you're trying to address a global pandemic that's throughout our own country has devastated to the point of having really unprecedented deaths, hospitalizations, the worst we've seen in 102 years since the 1918 influenza pandemic, that when you have divisiveness and things get mixed up with political ideologies, that is never a good thing when you're trying to fight a pandemic. Everybody needs to be pulling together. So if there's anything we could have done differently, is that lay aside political or ideological differences and all get on the same page to realize that we're all in this together, and the only way we're going to get out of it is by getting out of it together as a unified nation.
Dr. Fauci, last question for you. More of a personal question. How has the pandemic impacted you personally? Obviously, being the face behind this battle has its challenges, I can imagine.
Well, I mean, it certainly has completely consumed my life. I can tell you something, not needing any sympathy about it, but it's the truth. I haven't had a day off since last January, namely January of 2020. So it's been something that I feel we need to do because the enormity of the problem requires 24/7. And that's what I and many of my colleagues have given to it, 24/7. So it's been exhausting. The thing about it that has underscored this divisiveness that we're talking about is that I've experienced what some others have, is threats upon my life and harassment of my family, including my wife and my children, by people who disagree with my public health message. Now, try to get your arms around that one, that when you disagree with someone's public health message, you actually threaten their life. That's no way to contain an outbreak when people feel so strongly about things that they let a public health message trigger that kind of response.